Hey everybody, welcome back to Living Traditions Homestead. Well, I'm in the kitchen tonight and I just wanted to bring you guys a quick video to talk about something that's been on my mind. There's been a lot of talk, concern about eggs lately, especially here in the United States. Prices are just through the roof. There's a lot of opinions about what's causing it. We're not going to get into any of that today. I think everybody can do their own research and try to figure out what they think is causing egg shortages and egg prices to skyrocket. But nonetheless, because of that, more and more people are starting to raise their own chickens, which is great. But I wanted to take some time tonight to remind you guys that chicken eggs aren't the only type of eggs that you can eat. In fact, here on our homestead, we raise 3 different animals for eggs, and I want to go over all of those with you tonight and show you what those are. So the 3 animals that we raise on our homestead for eggs are chickens, ducks, and quail. And all 3 of the eggs are quite a bit different. All of them have some very good points, and I wouldn't say there's any bad points to them, but let's take a look at each one separately, and we'll talk a little bit about why we raise all 3. So let's start with the smallest of all of them, the quail eggs. So quail eggs are, as you can see, quite a bit smaller than chicken eggs. In fact, it takes about 3 quail eggs to equal 1 chicken egg. But the nice thing about quail, first of all, is that my quail never stop laying all winter long. That's because we have them indoors in a barn with lights on them so that they're getting about 14 hours of daylight all winter long. Now the chickens and ducks, on the other hand, because they're outside and we don't have artificial light for them, a lot of times they'll stop laying or slow way down in the winter time. And we just kind of allow that to happen naturally with them, and we don't worry too much about it, especially since we're still getting the quail eggs. So one of the, I think, main benefits to quail or quail eggs is that even those people who live in the city that may not be able to raise chickens or ducks because either there's ordinance against it or maybe they're too noisy or you just don't have the room for it, quail, like I said, can be raised indoors in pretty small spaces. They don't make much noise, and in very few cases are they considered livestock. They can just be considered pets. So let's talk about the nutritional value of the 3 different eggs that we raise. So when we're talking about nutritional values, the most important things, or the things that people kind of look at first, are usually fat and protein. All 3 of them are very similar in those 2 categories. So the chicken and quail eggs are about 6 grams of protein and 5 grams of fat per 100 grams of egg. So of course it's going to take more quail eggs to equal that, to get to that 100 grams. But when you're talking about by weight, they're very similar. And in fact, duck eggs aren't far off in that category. Duck eggs are about 7 grams of protein and about 6 grams of fat. Where we start to get a lot of difference and where duck eggs really kind of separate themselves from the pack is when you're talking about different vitamins and minerals that are in the eggs. When we're talking about, for instance, vitamin B12, duck eggs have about 160% of your daily allowance of vitamin B12 in 100 grams of eggs, where these guys have somewhere between 30 and 40%. These guys have about 3 times the amount of iron in them as the other 2 types of eggs. And the list goes on. You can find nutritional, values for all of these online, but I really recommend that you take a look at that. We love duck eggs here on our homestead, and we eat them as much as we can. Now, the ducks do slow down quite a bit in the winter, so we don't get as many. But over the summer, when they're laying really well, we eat a ton of fresh duck eggs. And we also freeze dry a lot of eggs so that we can have them even over the winter. In fact, we did a video a while back about freeze drying eggs. If you guys want to check that out, it'll really talk to you about how to store freeze dried eggs long term. So before we head over to the stove to fry one of these up so you guys can see what all 3 look like, let's weigh these just to see, so we can see kind of where we're at as far as the size difference on all of these. Let's start with the quail egg. Now I raise jumbo Coturnix quail, so these eggs are a little bit bigger than just your standard quail eggs, but not a whole lot. So 1 quail egg is going to weigh just over a ½ ounce, so about 0.6 ounces. Now, this is an egg from one of the dual-purpose chickens that we raise called American breast chickens, which are really good for meat and good for eggs. So these aren't really big eggs, but they're a good size. And they weigh 1.8 ounces. So I was right, about 3 times the size of a quail egg. And then the duck eggs, which you can see here, this is from a Pekin duck. Those are what we raise because they're really good for meat. That is 3.1 ounces. So again, almost twice the size of the chicken egg. Now, one last thing that I wanted to mention before we head over to the stove is just kind of some of the most common uses for these different types of eggs, or I should say really what we like to use them for. Now, duck eggs are awesome for baking. If you like to bake cakes and pastries and things like that, duck eggs are one of the things that are traditionally used for that because they're higher in fat and they make your baked goods really taste good and get fluffy and just add a lot of extra, richness to your baked goods. Chicken eggs, I mean, come on. They're the all around, you can use them for anything. They taste good, especially when you got good free-range chicken eggs. Pretty much your multi-purpose egg. And then quail eggs, what we like these for, honestly, are we eat them mostly hard-boiled, and we like them in our salads, and they also make really fantastic pickled eggs. So that's what we like quail eggs for, and then of course, most of the time, we're saving quail eggs to hatch because we raise the quail for meat. So let's head over to the stove. We'll fry some of these up and see what they all look like. Alright, I have a pan heated up on the stove. I use kind of a flat skillet type pan so you guys can see the eggs really well. Let's start with the quail egg. Now, for those of you who have never raised quail, you may not know, but the best way to crack quail eggs is with what's called a quail egg scissors. It's a little scissors that looks like this, and you put the tip of the egg in, and you can actually cut the tip of the egg right off, and then pour the egg out. So that's what we'll do. And that is what a quail egg looks like. The yolk is actually pretty good size in a quail egg in comparison to the amount of white. And I actually really enjoy eating fried quail eggs. It's just a little more tedious. Alright, now for the chicken egg. Again, these are from the American breast chickens. Look at how beautiful that yolk is. I think there's a big color difference because the quail are mostly raised in a cage on feed, and the chickens are raised free range out in the grass and the sunshine. So again, you can see the difference there. And then finally, our duck eggs. Wait until you see the yolk on the duck eggs. Look at how big that yolk is on the duck egg. So there you go. That is a good representation of what those 3 types of eggs look like. I thought I would do that just so if you've never seen or raised all 3 types, you can really have a good visual of what they will look like. So there you go, you guys. The 3 different types of eggs that we raise here on our homestead. I really did this video because I want you guys to really think about how you can be more self-sustaining on your own. Maybe you live in a place where you can't raise chickens or ducks, but you could raise quail. Maybe you're just sick of paying the high prices at the store and you have enough land that you could raise all 3 or at least one of these, and you just didn't know where to start. You guys, I think all 3 of these are an excellent option for eggs. Now personally, I don't see a time anytime soon where we're going to stop raising any of these. I just really wanted you guys to know that there are a lot of options out there for eggs, and that chicken eggs from the store are by no means your only option when it comes to eating or raising your own eggs. You guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gets you thinking just a little bit. Maybe it even gets you to go out and buy some animals, just a couple chickens, a couple ducks, or a couple quail, and start producing your own eggs. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button before you leave. Don't forget that the best way that you can help us, as always, is just to share our videos on all of your social media. Until next time, thank you so much for stopping by the homestead. Take care, and God bless.